Okay, if you clicked on this video, one, congratulations, because you are probably pregnant, and two, you're probably nervous, and that's okay. That is normal. It is okay to be nervous. I'm not telling you you should or should not be nervous either. What I want to do, and the purpose of this video, is to sit down with you, have a little chat, and tell you my experience, and hope that that helps you and it encourages you. Because when I was pregnant, I would hear stories of my friends or just people's experiences in their labor delivery process. And the scary ones were always the loudest. But it was the smooth sailing, the encouraging stories that stuck with me when I was going in to actually give birth, because I don't really know why. I think I prayed a lot about it before, and I just prayed for peace. And I just remember words like from my friends, like, you've got this. And it's an amazing experience that you get to experience, and not to taint it into something that it's not. Like, it's hard, but it's worth it, and it's amazing at the same time. So my hope is to tell you my story and hope that encourages you, and that you remember that women give birth every day. Every day a baby is born, and they are alive and healthy, and it's great. And not saying bad things don't happen, but I mean this in the most hopefully sympathetic way. And I know it may not come across this way, but there's no point in worrying twice. You can only control what you can control. And I hope that everyone watching this video, assuming you're about to give birth, it goes well and it's great. And you have this amazing prize at the end, which is a baby boy or girl. So with that being said, grab your little drink. I've got water, which if you're pregnant, water wouldn't be a bad idea. I was gonna film this morning and have like a cup of coffee, but that just didn't happen. My son was having a hard time napping, and so that came first. Anyway, it's the afternoon now, and we're gonna sit down and I'm gonna tell you my story. Also, if you clicked on this video and you have no idea who I am, my name is Sam. I am a mom and a wife, and my son is 5 months old, and I post all things mom, faith, lifestyle, mumble jumble together, and I hope you subscribe and join the fam. I will start on the day that my son came. It was a Saturday, and it was actually 3 days before his due date that this whole story started. So he was due April 9th, and I'm starting on April 6th. So it was just a normal Saturday. We knew that it could happen any day now. And actually I went into my OB for my 39-week appointment, and he offered to sweep my membrane, which I was a little confused about because everything was good. Everything was smooth sailing. There was no problem. There was no talk of potential medical induction happening. And so when he offered to swipe my membrane, I was like, what? No. I was a little nervous. I think I was 4 centimeters dilated, but I hadn't felt anything. What he said was I probably didn't need to be swept, because baby would probably come within by the end of the week. And so that was a Tuesday. My due date was the following Tuesday. And so Saturday comes, and I'm like, it's almost the end of the week. Now he could have meant by the next Tuesday. And even still, he was a doctor. He knew what he was doing, but he didn't know when the baby was gonna come. And so I felt a little bit irritated with my pregnancy hormones. I was like, you're getting my hopes up that this baby might come this week, but it's fine, because, well, he was right. That's what ended up happening, is he came within the week. So that Saturday, I just woke up and was just trying to go about my morning. You know, I went on my little curb walk. I came back to the house, and I just started feeling restless and annoyed. And it was early afternoon. Gunther was outside working out, and I went outside, and I was just pacing back and forth. I was like, you know, the doctor said the baby was gonna come this week, and he sounded so confident, and I'm just getting my hopes up, and I don't know if this baby's coming, and my back's hurting, and I'm just ready for this baby to get out. I had no right to complain. I was not even 40 weeks pregnant. The whole pregnancy, I was telling myself, this baby's gonna come late, this baby's gonna come late. Big reason why I did that was because babies usually don't come early on the first pregnancy. usually. And I just didn't want to get my hopes up. So I was like, I'm just going to tell myself that the baby's coming late. So then if it comes early or on time, then it'll be great. I was trying to do like a reverse psychology with my mind. And anyway, so then I was just pacing back and forth. I just was venting. I was angry. I wanted to cry. It was just all the things, all the hormones. So then I finally went inside. And all of third trimester, I've been kind of trying to look to see if any signs of me nesting, because they say that's kind of like could be a sign of baby coming. There's so many things that could be a sign. I was like, I feel like I'm just getting things done because I need to get done, but not because I have this like innate feeling. But then after I come inside from pacing, I like cleaned our whole room, because we were doing bassinet by the side of the bed where he would come home, and I was like, all right, I just want to clean. I want to clean this whole room because this is the room that he's going to be in and sleeping in. And it just felt so kind of random. Like even my mood shifted. Like I wasn't really angry anymore. I just like put on music or a podcast or something, and I just started cleaning. And I had this energy. And then I like finished, and I was like, maybe I am nesting right now. And there's even a short that I filmed that very day of me packing our car caddy and like filled with stuff. So that's funny. So then, nighttime comes, eat dinner, take a shower, go to bed. It's like 11:30. I'm just reading in bed. Husband's just about fell asleep, and I'm just reading in bed. And it's the weirdest thing happened, okay? But it's just so cool looking back and how my body was preparing this to happen. But I was reading a novel that I was really into, and for some reason, for like 5 minutes, I just read the same 2 lines, and I could not register what I was reading. I was just, and I wasn't tired. It was just the weirdest experience. Like I felt like this fog, and then all of a sudden, I feel a pop down there, and my water breaks. And I like knew it wasn't pee, and liquid just kept coming, and it really genuinely felt like there was a balloon in me, and it was the gentlest pop. I don't even know if liquid didn't come out, I don't think I would have registered that something happened. I was even laying on towels, because supposedly it's not super common for your water to break, and for that to be the reason why you go into labor. Usually they pop they break your water, or you're having contractions and then you're at the hospital and the water breaks. But I just was like, just in case. The towels did nothing. So if you are trying to put towels down, if you want to do it, then that's fine. But it's gonna go through the towels. I'll be right back. Baby is crying. So anyway, it was like 11:30. And it felt like a movie where I like woke Gunther up quickly, and I was like, Gunther, my water broke. He's like, what? Jumped out of bed, and she was like, okay. I was like, but it's okay. We have time. Doctor said that we have, within 8 hours, we just need to be at the hospital. And we were like 35 minutes away, I think, from the hospital. And so I was like, I'm gonna shower and make sure our bags are ready, and then we'll go to the hospital, because I didn't really care to wait. I knew that like I would not even be able to try and go back. I would not be able to go back to sleep even if I tried. Well, I hadn't fallen asleep to begin with, and so my adrenaline was rushing, and I just would have rather been at the hospital when the pain started coming. And so I showered, but like in the shower, I was shaking, and it was honestly more of like an excitement shaking. I knew it was adrenaline, but I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually happening. I can't believe this is happening. And so then I showered, Gunther showered, we hit the road, and I was like, hey, like I initiated it. And I said, hey, why don't we stop? I still wasn't having any pain, but I was like, why don't we stop by Taco Bell on the way, and you get some food. I don't want any food, but you get some food, because who knows how long of a night this is gonna be. And he's like, no, like it's fine. I was like, Gunther, it's fine. Like if you're hungry, just do it. Basically, I was like, it's really not a big deal. So I insisted. So we get to the Taco Bell, and it's like probably around midnight at this point, but it is a Saturday night, and the drive-through is just like backed up. And so we go to the parking lot, and he parks, and I was like, why don't you just go inside and I'll text you if things get really bad. So he's in there for, no joke, 30 minutes. And I probably had like 7 contractions, but it wasn't horrible. I was just like, okay, like I'm starting to feel something. But here's the thing, it was all in my back. I was having back labor the whole time. I never once felt anything in my front. And so that's interesting. And they do say that back labor is usually worse than normal labor. And so I was just breathing through it. I had an app that I timed my contractions, and I was just like, okay. But it still wasn't urgent enough for me to feel like, hey, we need to go now. But something was definitely happening. So he finally comes back. I was like, all right, like, yeah, I've had about 7 contractions. Let's go. He's like, okay. And so then we went. It's going away that neither of us were familiar with. The city that I gave birth in, like, there's 2 hospitals with the same name, like most cities, but there's like a downtown version, and then there's outer kind of suburb area. And I was supposed to give birth in the suburb area because I had a friend who was a nurse of an OBGYN, and so she was supposed to, like, I wanted her there if possible. And anyway, and that's also like where I was just planning on giving birth. And so we get like 2 minutes from the hospital, and then it does not look familiar. And I said, Gunther, this is not it. And he's like, I know. So basically he typed in the hospital name, and it automatically sent him to the downtown version, or downtown area. So we were at the wrong hospital. So finally we go, it's like another 20 minutes to the actual hospital. And I just remember thinking, like, we were 7 minutes away. I remember looking at the GPS and just thinking, I really hope I just want to have one more contraction. It was getting really bad. I'm laughing because, like, it was painful, but it was like, I don't know, it wasn't like the movies. Like, I wasn't screaming or anything. It was just like, all right, this is bad. But I was on my way to the hospital. Like, I knew it was going to be taken care of. It was going to be fine. It's just, and I'm also laughing because, like, even that night, like, we were kind of laughing while I was also, like, in between contractions. And I was like, I cannot believe this is happening. What should have taken us 35 minutes to get to the hospital took us an hour and 20 minutes, including the Taco Bell trip. So anyway, it was just funny. So we finally get to the right hospital. I think, honestly, it was harder because you have to check in. And I'm literally, like, bent over a little bit while I'm checking in. And they first have to check you into triage to see even if you are in labor. And it's fine, it's protocol, but I'm like, my water broke. Yes, I am in labor. Like, please just get me in as soon as possible. And oh, I forgot to preface this, that my goal with, like, epidural and stuff was to just try and go as natural as possible and be open-minded to an epidural. Just wanted to see, like, I had nothing against an epidural. I just wanted to see what my body could do, and also just kind of experience. I know that sounds crazy and wild, and like, why would you want to experience pain? But, like, I wanted to be able to know what it was like to be in pain and labor and contractions. I don't know. It was just, it wasn't necessarily a pride thing. I think partly there was pride, but also it was mainly just kind of like, what can my body do kind of thing. So I was still at the mindset of, like, all right, I'm just gonna do this. So I was just trying to breathe through it, and I had to go to the bathroom and just this whole thing. That probably took about like 10 minutes to check in. Finally got me into triage, and then that's when, like, it started ramping up a little bit more. Now, remember, I was 4 centimeters dilated, and I think it was 50 to 70% effaced, which, if you didn't know this, the dilation doesn't usually mean anything. It's the effacement that you really want to pay attention to. And if you're more effaced, that's when, like, that comes first more so than the dilation, if that makes sense. You just Google that. But yeah, so we get checked in to triage, and I'm having to, like, breathe through the contractions. It's still back labor, so it still, like, hurts so much. So then they check me, and I'm 5 centimeters dilated. But they're like, yeah, you're in labor, let's get you in the room. But I was only 5 centimeters. And we got out of triage into our room, and it was just really bad. It was so painful. Like, the pain, it's so interesting because the pain that I experienced was unlike any pain I've ever experienced. I can't even explain it. Like, it really was just this like very deep in my back, like just deep pain that felt like nothing could take it away. And yet I don't know, whenever I picture myself being in pain, I just picture myself crying. But like, I wasn't brought to the point of tears. It was almost just like breathtaking. So I don't know, but so I explained that not to scare you, but just to say like, yet at the same time, like I wasn't scared. I was just kind of like, okay, like this is what my body's supposed to, it's just this instinctual thing that takes over. It's truly amazing. I'm not trying to romanticize it over the top, but it really is just so amazing. And like your body can do what it's made to do. And thankfully, like I said, like I know that everybody's situation is like that. I know some people have to get induced, some people have to go or choose to go through C-section, like totally different, totally fine. But like, you know, I don't know, it was just, I think the most scary thing throughout this whole process, like while I was living it, was just the unknown of like what to expect, what's happening. I think it was like 2 a.m. when I remember I had to go to the bathroom so many times. I just had to pee so many times. And every time I got up to go pee and came, but that's when it got worse, which is odd because sometimes getting up and walking helps women. But in my situation, I just wanted to lay down. But I had to pee so often. And so I finally just like stood there and I was just like, I need an epidural. And so finally when I reconciled, I was like, it's fine, I'm just gonna get an epidural. Because they told me, they're like, if you want an epidural, you need to just be ready to wait like 30 to 45 minutes. And so I was like, okay. And so I requested one. About 45 minutes, 50 minutes later, the anesthesiologist came in and I told him, I was like, all right, this, you know, never gave birth. I'm nervous about this. Can you just explain? He was like, I will walk you through everything I am doing. And it was really comforting. And it honestly, like, you have to stay still during a contraction, but you're just in like this, like, I'm going to do this mode and mentality where I just like sat there and I had my husband on one side, the nurse on like right next to him, the anesthesiologist in the back. And okay, this is such a big tip. Okay, so if you are at a hospital, I would request having someone who does the epidural, like put it in your birth plan, verbalize it to your nurse, like say, I want someone who is not a student to give me my epidural, like someone who's experienced. Because sometimes, I mean, it makes sense because people who are in training to give an epidural, they need to practice, right? But that I don't think they're necessarily required to say like, oh, you're gonna have a student do it. No, like they'll just have somebody come in and do it. And so I did not want to be the guinea pig. That's something that I did not know. So request to have the experienced professional do it if you are anything like me. The guy who did it was great. It really just felt like a bee sting on my back, which I, like compared to your contractions, you're like, ah, that's fine. But I didn't have it actually kick in until like probably another 30, 45 minutes. So, and they also, I was laying in bed, and because, so the reason what back labor is basically, baby was head down, but he was sunny side up. So instead of facing my backside, I think he was facing the other way, like front side. So his head was putting pressure on my back. They were trying to have him turn, like just turn the other way, the way he should be. And so they were doing that by having like a peanut ball in between my legs, and then they were having me flip back and forth, and the nurse had to come in and help me. And they had to put a catheter in, but they waited until I was a little bit more numb to actually put it in. So like you felt something, but it wasn't necessarily painful. I think that part was a little scary for me too, because I was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna hurt. But no, it's fine. Just communicate as much as you can to your nurse, and they will be there with you each and every step, as they should be. It was interesting because whenever I was having contraction, it wasn't painful, but I could feel a pressure in my backside. And so I knew I was having contraction, but like, and also there's a monitor, but even without looking at the monitor, I just felt that pressure. And so then I just remember like Gunther finally, I was not in pain, so he lay down, he took a nap. I just put on some TV. I think I was watching like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs because that's what was on. I think it was like 7:30 when my friend, who is the nurse who got on call, she came in and she just checked me out, and that was really cool to have somebody I knew who also had the same beliefs as me, which was really important to me. Not that that's necessary to have great care, but like it just meant a lot that she could be there and was a Christian, and just I felt like she would advocate for me if necessary, and so that was really cool. She was like, all right, everything good. And so 8:30 comes and she says, hey, we might have the midwife come and give you Pitocin because the contractions like are slowing down. And at that point, I had not been checked again since I initially came in the hospital. And so I was like, okay, well, before you do that, can you check to see how dilated I am? And she's like, yeah, that's fine. Like, she'll have to check you anyway before she gives you Pitocin, because I didn't want to be almost, fully dilated and then maybe need Pitocin if things were moving along. 9:30 comes, the midwife comes in and she checks me, and Gunther was actually about to go on a walk. He was like, all right, like, I was like, why don't you go on a walk? We're just waiting. I wouldn't want to be cooped up if I were you. And so he was like, are you sure? I was like, yeah. And then I was like, well, wait and see how dilated I am. And so she checks me and she's like, oh, it's time. And that's when I was like, oh. And that's when I realized that I think it was the pushing that I was like the most nervous about, because like that's the part where you have a human coming out of you. So we did a couple pushes, and I was like really nervous right before the first push. And I had been going to pelvic floor therapy beforehand, and she really talked me through a good way of pushing well. And then, so I kind of mixed what she had to say also with what the doctor was saying. And so I did one push, and I was like, oh, that's not bad. Like, if anything, I didn't feel anything. It just felt like I was pushing. Then she left to go do a C-section real quick, while my friend / nurse like helped me push, and she's like, you're doing great. So honestly, like, I pushed for 45 minutes. Towards the end of the pushing, they told me, I still had my epidural. They told me, like, let us know if you feel anything. And I was starting to feel some burning down there. I was like, all right, like, I'm starting to feel burning. And they're like, okay, it's okay, you got it. I don't know why they told me to tell them if I felt anything. Basically, the epidural, supposedly you have a good epidural if you're not like 100% numb, like you can still feel something, because then that prevents you from tearing as much. And so I guess that's what I had. I had a good epidural, but it wasn't long after I started feeling burning when like he was coming. And so, I was almost done. So it was probably like 4 or 5 pushes. And I just remember towards the end of it, like, this baby, like, I'm about to be done pushing. Like, this baby is coming. And so I pushed, and it really is so cool. Like, I remember a couple pushes left. There were a couple more nurses who came in who were just getting ready to help. And they were all exciting. Like, a nurse took my phone and she took pictures, which I'm really glad that she did. It was a really sweet moment. And yeah, so then he came. They immediately put him on my chest, and any pain that I felt just gone. And it wasn't even that bad. It was just more, I don't know. It was just more exhausting than anything. And like I said, this is my experience, but I want you to take my experience to mind, because just know, like, it's possible to have a smooth, good birth or delivery. And so he was on my chest, and I had my golden hour. Gunther got to hold him. Once we transferred rooms, my parents came, my mother-in-law came. It was very sweet. And I think I like had a very minor tear. Like, I don't even know. I think I maybe needed 1 stitch. And then we went home 24 hours later. He passed the test and all the 24-hour tests. And it was great. It really was. Like, honestly, it's funny that I'm saying it was great, even though I'm like explaining, like, yeah, I was in pain here and I was in pain here. But I don't know. It's just, every cliche they say about it is so true, and your body is made to do it. And it is the best thing I have ever experienced and done, of becoming a mom. And I know not everybody has that privilege and opportunity, and I'm thankful I do. And yeah, I'm just getting sentimental and sappy. Like, it's the best thing ever. And I definitely, like, when I was in the hospital, even right after giving birth, I was like, okay, I don't want to do this right away again, but I can see how women are like, all right, I can do it again. Now, 5 months later, I'm like, okay, like, Lord willing, whenever it's time to have our second baby, I'm excited. And it may not go the same. It probably won't. Who knows how it'll go, but I'm excited for it. So that is my birth story. And I hope it is encouraging to you just to hear another story of how it happened. I hope that you have a great experience. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be great. You're gonna do great. I'm already so proud of you. You've got this. So I will see you next time.